Apart from those local strategies for sort of walling up the coastal areas, what sort of strategy have you got in place for climate change, as you know, inundation and that sort of thing around your coast, if they're going to be affected?
Yeah, look, I'm aware we're going to be having some further discussion on that, but I guess just briefly for us, we've had a vulnerability assessment done on the coast with a matching grant we got some time ago. That it has identified the areas where we know we will have some problems, and we've just had a major report to Council last month setting out which areas we're going to need to do roughly when. So some things have to be done, like the normal erosion process that we suffer from. We have to constantly be trying to do things about that. Then we've got areas we know that in the more medium term we're going to have some strategies to deal with that, and of course the longer term. So the staff have now a pretty good mapped idea of the areas that are vulnerable, and also we have to then look at what we're likely to lose if just through the cyclical process of erosion and accretion. So those bigger picture issues, they are vitally important, and that's why I suppose we have to put a great deal of energy into stopping the destruction of those dual vegetation areas, because there are going to be areas that are going to be quite at risk. Thanks, Nat. Appreciate that. Yeah.
The Memorandum of Understanding with the private landholders, how does that work? Do they telephone you and tell you about vehicles going through their property, or what happens?
Yes, look, that's what it does is it gives the, I'm quoting from the Ranger's notes, we can patrol and infringe on their land, and we have that MOU with private landowners and also in government land, and that means that we can infringe, say, a parked trailer that shouldn't be there, and that really has made a big difference. So that process, I can get you more information on how that works, but the fact that there is that MOU in place addresses that issue of the legal framework that the rangers have to operate in, because if they don't have the right to be on that land, then obviously they can't infringe. So that MOU, and which I don't think is a very difficult process, but it is one of those important strategic things that then enable the staff to be more effective on the ground. Yes, Erin.
Can I just add that I believe that those people that live around that area will report to Range if they see something. They'll actually call up and report something happening at the time. So that's another part of that arrangement, is that they won't actually go and be involved, but they will.
Yes.
And they see they will report to Rangers immediately.
Because they have that relationship and an agreement. Yeah. Thanks, Natalie.
Paddy, I was just going to ask a question, was regarding what sort of budget would you like to see every year for successful shoreline protection?
Look, I can't give you a dollar figure, but certainly my view is that we need a more permanent presence on the beach, so I would like to at least see a ranger dedicated to that. Doesn't have to be the same person, but the equivalent of that to... we also need the time and capacity to continue working on the relationships, to build up with people, to get to know who's there, to have those relationships with landowners and people. And so I think the budget is in terms of two things: the staffing requirement, the development of those community networks, which I think are very important because we're never going to tackle this all on our own, and thirdly, an increasing budget for that dual vegetation work where they are doing the brushing and using larger equipment. I know our staff have been very good at sourcing material that is the subdivisions going in. They know when that's happening, and they'll often source material of vegetation that's been cleared from somewhere else. But there's got to be, I think, a more systematic way of ensuring that there are regular brushings, and that any areas that start to get a bit worn. So really, I think what I'd like to see is an increase on an annual basis. It doesn't have to be a lot, but to ensure that that kind of work continues, because once you get behind in it, it costs you far more then to fix it up.